consciousness figured out. It's confirming you are doing something. In a previous paper on 100 billion sources of hate between your ears, I identified the fundamental symmetry of neural computation. 100 billion sources of hate between your ears. Or the fundamental symmetry of brain computation. Medium.com. Well, that also tells us what consciousness is. The amazing thing is that you do not need to be a scientist to confirm this for yourself. It is very obvious after you understand what neurons do for a living and the fundamental symmetry of neural computation. Consciousness solves a very real computational problem for your body. Your body literally has hundreds of billions of neurons with thousands of connections to other neurons in reality each. Neurons solve the problem of keeping you out of a constant seizure all the time, capable of being nothing more than a vegetable or tree. Their basic function is to perceive something from something else and making something happen, using the same mechanism but for other things to obtain that perception. Here is a paper on that. How your brain computes. It's simple but deceivingly clever. Medium.com. The fundamental symmetry says that for every computational engine that can perceive or predicate a perception, there is a complementary computational engine that can, by predicating other perceptions, do something and, importantly, know they are doing it by perceiving it. Yep, it's just a feedback loop with one function feeding back to another. It is simple, but it is not simple because of the number of such feedback loops involved in doing the simplest of things at all levels in your nervous system. For understanding even things as simple as a sentence, for example, we can observe literally hundreds of millions of these predications if we choose to try to estimate their numbers, often just using simple math. So how can the nervous system get the body to do anything? How can it reduce its perceptions to something worth attending to? The answer is that subsets of these symmetric neural computations can be hierarchically organized to do this, then that, and know the body is, in fact, doing this and then that. We can observe this universally throughout all the different neural networks composed of all the kinds of neurons in your body, and we see it clearly exposed in human natural language. By just assuming human natural language was evolved as the most direct means by which one brain can communicate with another, we can observe these computations directly and have many ways to confirm that millions of predications are involved in even communicating one predication from one human to another, involved, of course, in the proper or improper predication context. Just like the math behind predicting weather requires huge numbers of computers computing in parallel as models based on simple physics, the math behind how our brains compute and are conscious requires huge numbers of computers computing in parallel as models based on simple computations. Just like accurate weather prediction requires those expensive models to demonstrate the simple physics works, we require expensive models to demonstrate the simple neural computations work. And, most important, your brain has to be even more complex than the most complex models we have today, because the amount of predication activity is just that precise and intense to coordinate all that we can know with all we can do, and all we can do with all we can know. Consciousness is just the brain causing us to do something that it can then confirm we are doing. And what do we mean by the word causing? Well, look to natural language. It is whatever somebody calls causing. And this is not at all any more circular reasoning than a feedback loop is just a circular computation, arranged moment to moment in a master perception symmetry of a constantly changing hierarchy for singular verification and control. You have yourself consciously being yourself. You recognize it as you doing it. That's what you call, and, by the cognitive computational neuroscience, see as your and anybody's consciousness. With consciousness, the dynamic hierarchicalizations of knowledge and physical capability are necessarily and sufficiently organized out of both dynamic and static feedback loops at all levels of computation, from sensory to cognitive, moment to conscious moment. Without dialogue to coordinate what one brain thinks another is doing, genocide emerges rapidly in the need to control what one is perceiving. We have long known that this dialogue has to be structured and moderated in order for deceit and cheating not to take over in the individual brains. This is the flaw in the design of the modern media. It is also how to tweak that media back to working for human society. Fiat lies are genocide on the human race. The internet court of lies. Medium.com. Even George Washington, in his farewell address, recognized that without people being conscious for the need for such structured dialogue to call out agreed upon truth and lies, they will destroy themselves in the most horrid despotism. The elected official liar test. The Mendeliology of fixing us. Medium.com. And why I can predict, with complete certainty, that you have already tried to figure out how to try to change the meaning of what I am plainly saying so you can change someone's, even your own, opinion of it.